Welcome to the Dad Bod Pod, a place for men to learn, grow, and live the healthiest life possible. I'm your host, Jason Priest, and I have a very special guest for you guys today. He is a former Notre Dame and NFL football player, and now he is a businessman and a father just trying to make his way in the world. And without further ado, a welcome to the show, Mr. Braxston Cave. Braxston, thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure, and I know that you can add a lot of value to my listeners. I know we chatted a little bit before the show, so there's a ton of stuff that we want to cover. So we'll dive right in. I'm just going to ask you the first question that I always ask all of my guests is, what is your stance on or your thoughts on society's softening stance on the dad bod? And, I've seen a lot of stuff on social media lately of women, appreciating the dad bod. And, I know deep down inside that it's a dangerous trend, and I'm sure you do as well. So give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, with my background and, a little bit into that, my dad was a bodybuilder growing up. So to see, society today just be cool with, being average is kind of the way that I like to look at it is it's tough. Especially with my background of, for so long striving to be great at something and obviously physical, fitness is a big part of that. It's tough. It kind of shows, it's just kind of where we are as a society right now. It's kind of weak-minded, and the path of least resistance is kind of looked at as it's acceptable because nobody wants to get their feelings hurt.
Yeah. And, when I say the softening stance with society, I think that holds true because we're seeing this in many areas of life, not just with the obesity trend in our country, and I'm not going to sit here and name examples because we all know what I'm talking about, but it's a sad trend. And as we discussed before the show, I've seen a lot of sad things with my time spent in the ICU. So I agree with you. And the average part really resonates with me because a lot of my listeners are striving to be more than average. Even my mentor talks about it all the time. It's like, you have to have standards for yourself. So I think that's so true. Growing up with a father who was a bodybuilder, it seems to me like you probably had, obviously you had something great to look up to in terms of fitness, but do you feel like there was expectations on you to live that healthy lifestyle, or did he kind of do his own thing and give you your own choices?
Yeah. I never looked at it like that growing up. I think I seen you post something the other day, but my dad never really preached at me at it, but that's just what we did. I saw the way he ate and the way the food my mom would cook, and I have an Italian mom, so that's easy to go down, a sideways path there. But they led by example, and my dad was always that figurehead for me when it came to health. And to this day, he's still got 6-pack abs, and he'll be the first one to show them off. And,
that's awesome.
I love that. So, I'm still to this day trying to catch him when it comes to that. That's
so cool, man. And I think, I have posted something about that actually a couple times lately because I feel like, and I think most people will agree that your children will do what you do way before they do what you say. Yeah. And I think that holds true in any area of life. We can talk about business too. It's like when you're telling your kids to go out and explore and become great at something, but you're okay with remaining average and not pursuing more on your own, your own personal growth, that can be very mixed message for your kids. And so with nutrition and fitness, it's the same thing. It's like, I'm eating like crap. I'm sitting on the couch all the time, vegging out, eating chips all day and drinking soda, but I want you to go be active and eat fruits and vegetables. It's a mixed message. So yeah, I think It's huge to lead by example. And it sounds to me like, that's been a pretty huge part of your life in terms of health and just being healthy.
Yeah, no doubt. The phrase of, do what I say, not as I do, that does not fly, whether that's in parenting, life, business. I think that's the key fundamental right there.
It's the exact opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So So let's dive into a little bit of your playing career. I know, I mentioned in the introduction, you spent some time, or you graduated from Notre Dame and then went on to the NFL. So tell us a little bit about, the challenges of the transition from a world where, basically everything is structured out for you in terms of fitness and nutrition, and you have a very structured plan to follow, to coming out and figuring it out all on your own.
Yeah. So kind of my story, I lead with this all the time. So, when we talk about striving for greatness and kind of that feeling we get when we're doing something great, I remember like it was yesterday when I was 4 years old, I hit my very first T-ball home run. Okay. And it sounds silly because that was 26 years ago for me. But, I remember like yesterday running around the bases. I look in the stands. My dad's kind of giving me the thumbs up. Mom, of course, Italian mother, she's crying. But I never forget that feeling, and people get that feeling from all different kinds of things. But I've chased that my whole life. Right. And I think that's, that feeling that we get when we're doing something great. That's it. I've chased that, and it's inspired me to want to do these great things. And so, yeah, I'm born and raised in Mishawaka, Indiana. Went to a powerhouse football program, high school here, 4,000 students. So it's a big time program, and was fortunate to receive a football scholarship to Notre Dame. Played there, pretty unique experience. 4 different O-line coaches while I was there, 2 different head coaches. So when it comes to like the physical fitness side, obviously 2 different strength coaches with the programs. The first set, they were, how big, how strong can you get? They wanted big linemen. So at my peak, I was 333 pounds.
Wow.
I'm only 6'3", so 333 pounds does not look good on me.
That's a big dude. Yeah.
Now, was I strong? Hell yeah, I was strong. I was a 525-pound bencher, 700-plus squat. I was big and strong, but man, to maintain that, that was tough for me. So then, jump in with a new regime. We run to the spread, no huddle, and that was much more fitting for me. I dropped down. I was playing around 295, 300, felt good. And we, great experience in Notre Dame, won a lot of games, lost a lot of games. My last year was 2012, where we lost in the national title game to Alabama, which was obviously disheartening, but, learned a lot about myself, through that 2012 season. And so, in the year, I'm considered in, the top 3 centers in the country. And I'm training out in Southern California, getting ready for the Senior Bowl and the Combine. And I go to the Senior Bowl, and I partially tear my rotator cuff tendon in day 1 of practice. Obviously, try to just tough through that, not tell anyone. Didn't have a great week while I was there. Went back and rehabbed, and the biggest disappointment for me in this whole thing was bench press had been like the biggest part of my life. Like it was my bench records in Notre Dame were always talked about, and my number one goal was to go to the Combine and beat that rep, the 225 rep record, which was 49 at the time, was set a couple years before my year going there. And leading in about 3 weeks out, I was at 46. So like there was a lot of hype around this, that I would come in and break this record, and then I get this injury and wasn't able to participate in the bench at the Combine. So that was like a huge dagger in my heart for me, because I was the biggest meathead you'll ever find. And,
sure.
And so that was going to be a huge moment for me. So definitely a letdown there. So long story short, go to the Combine, MRIs, they find my injury. And I watched my draft. I was projected to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick, and just watched my draft stock completely plummet. And, so draft comes around, I end up going undrafted. The draft process, that's a whole nother story. Multiple teams calling you throughout those 3 days, and, making you promises, and obviously not coming to fruition. So I ended up signing with the Cleveland Browns as an undrafted free agent. Made it through final rounds of cuts, and then they ended up releasing me before the first game, to which I was signed by the New England Patriots for my rookie season. Missed a Super Bowl there. We lost in the AFC Championship to Denver, who went on to win it that year. And I was released after that season, and then spent 4 weeks with the Redskins. Was released from there, back to Cleveland for the rest of that season, and then the next 2 years in Detroit, which I know Detroit is near and dear to your heart.
We have a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. So, from the age of 9, when I put the helmet on for the first time, to the age of 28, I was told where to be, what to do, what to eat, what to drink, where I was going to be at any given time of the day. And so when I stepped out and made the decision to walk away from the game, it took me a little while. And a big part of that was, my wife and I had just moved back to Indiana. We had just bought a house that we were basically flipping. And, so I'm back for about 3 months. Hadn't really decided what I wanted to do. And my wife's like, you need to get the hell out of the house. You're driving me crazy. So, I at that time, I made that decision that, I was still at this time about 300 pounds. And, because I was kind of weighing on, are you still going to play? Are you going to really step away? And when I finally made that decision that I was going to step away, I jumped into the business world with a company here in town. And, I had to completely reinvent, what my schedule was going to look like and how I was going to lose, this weight that I didn't need anymore. And so, and like you and I talked about before, I tried it all. I've, waking up at 3 a.m., going to the gym, cardio, pulling double duty some days, to, I've done paleo, I've done keto, I've done intermittent fasting. I've tried it all because, I wanted nothing more than, right, to look like my dad. That was and to this day, that's still my goal. And I've had some success with all of those things, but at the end of the day, what it was about for me was being able to enjoy my family, enjoy food, right, like we all want to do, and have a good time, have some drinks, and not feel guilty, because that was the biggest part for me. Was I felt so guilty when I would if I went out with my buddies and had a few beers, and I just ruined a whole week of work, right? Yeah. And it's not true. And just basically getting over that was really, really hard for me.
Man, I had no idea. You have quite the backstory, man, and you've obviously battled a lot of adversity. Some of the things that you just mentioned in the story would really deflate a lot of people. And so I think, having, being cut and released, and then having the coaching changes at Notre Dame, and, ballooning up to 3, whatever it was, and then dropping almost 40 pounds to be in a new offense or scheme. It's like that. Most people would not be able to battle back from that. But I love that you keep finding a way. And I think that having your dad as that guy to look up to, and that father figure that, was the model of health, was huge for you, it sounds like.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And, and today, so I walk around today probably between 250, 255 is kind of my range of where I walk around at. I've been down as low as about 235, but didn't feel great. I thought I looked weak. Sure. So I built it back up. But yeah, having my dad, as that example was, he laid it out pretty well for me of what it should look like. And, he's always been a health nut, and that's just who we are as a family. And that's what I'm, like with my daughter, she's 2.5. I got a boy on the way in August. I'm not going to push them, at the end of the day, I want them to be kids. I want them to live a regular life. And, my daughter gets M&Ms through her potty training process, right? Leading by example, like you said, my wife is a huge supporter of me, and, she does all of our meal prepping and all this stuff. And, she's made it pretty simple for me to make these changes. So that's helped.
That's huge, man. That's awesome. One thing that I want to touch on about kind of your story is, do you feel like, when you obviously through your playing days, you have everything laid out for you. You've got the nutrition aspect. You mentioned they tell you what to eat, what to drink, when to work out, how much to work out. Do you feel like once that was over, do you feel like because you really didn't have any direction that the process, you mentioned trying keto and paleo and all these different things. Do you feel like the process was just kind of overwhelming and you didn't know where to turn because everything really, you were given the blueprint prior to that?
Yeah. I mean, I think the hardest thing is when you get on social media or you look on the internet, everyone's got this perfect method,
of
right?
course.
And there's not, right? Everyone's different. Things work differently for everybody. And I think that's probably what took me the longest time, was just getting around all the bullshit that's out there and really finding, what was going to work for me and not what was going to work for Joe Schmo on Instagram, who's got all these abs and shows you this perfect world that's not realistic. And so, yeah, fighting through that. Because to me, I knew I had to make some changes from what I was doing when I was playing ball. But realistically, I think the only change I really needed to make was the amount I was consuming.
Sure.
The way I was going about it.
Sure. Well, yeah, the portion control is huge, but also, the 6 or 7 inches between your 2 ears, that's it. Like we live in an immediate gratification society. And I talk about this often, but everybody wants that quick fix. We both have $1,000 computers in our hands. We can look up anything anytime we want. You can go up the street and there's a fast food restaurant on every corner. And so I think that's important that, you got to figure out what works best for you. But I love that you finally realized, or you said that you finally realized that it doesn't always have to be perfect, and so many people out there think that it has to be all or none. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that wait for so long to address their health that when the time comes, they don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. And they do think that it has to be all or none. It's got to be perfect or not at all. And that's just so not true. And that's why my big stance is the sustainability piece. I'm walking and living proof that you can have some burgers and some beers and everything's going to be okay as long as your mindset's in a place where you're keeping it, pretty clean the rest of the time, staying active and doing the things you need to do. So
right.
I think that's big. So you mentioned your wife and the meal prep and all that. So I guess my next question for you, in terms of, your daughter now and then the son on the way, by the way, congratulations.
Appreciate it.
What is you and your wife? I mean, obviously I know yours because we're talking about it now, but kind of what is your wife's stance on nutrition when it comes to your family, the kids? And you mentioned the M&Ms, that's okay. Like I do the same for my kid, but I guess my question is, where do you guys stand in terms of the value you place on nutrition for your children? Because you had a lot of great leadership in your family with your dad. So are your plan to kind of carry out that same role because you had such a good role model, or what are your stance there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we're 100% on the same page there. It's, Monday, or let's call it Sunday through Thursday. I mean, we're spot on, we pretty, I'd say 99% clean. My wife can be a little more lenient than I can. She's blessed in that way to, she can smash a bowl of pasta and feel great about it, whereas I feel miserable for the next couple hours if I do something like that. But then, on Friday night, it's pretty much the same routine you're rolling with right now. Friday night, we go out, we have pizza or burgers or some beers. When she's not pregnant, she's an avid red wine fan. So, it gives us an opportunity to go out and enjoy our time. Because, during the week, life's so crazy, so hectic that we don't really get that time to spend together other than a few hours at night, before we go to bed. So the weekends, we let it loose and it's worked for us. And, and the way I look at it is if you can go 5 days of eating clean, you deserve a couple of good meals.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the best way to sustain this lifestyle.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And that's why I, carry myself the way that I do. And that's why I'm so transparent about the way that I live, because, a lot of my audience struggles with consistency. That's one of the things that I hear most about is, the consistency and motivation. And, in my opinion, motivation is not something that's necessary when you're committed. I think that when people tell me that they're not motivated, it's just a softer way of saying I'm not committed, right? And when you talk about eating clean for 5 days, you're fueling your body with the things that it needs to function at a high level, because we're all busy. Nobody finds extra time. You're a busy dude. Your wife's busy. You have a family. And so a lot of my listeners are in the same boat, but it's like, when you can get that structure set up in your life, you deserve a Friday night and a Saturday night meal where it's like, okay, I did really well this week. I'm going to reward myself with a couple of meals on the weekend, and then I'm back to the grind. And I think that's where people go wrong. It's like they let those couple meals on the weekend turn into 3 or 4 days during the week as well. And then, you're not going to get results. So I think that's huge. And a lot of that is mindset. So I guess, tell me a little bit about you prior to your wife being pregnant this time. Do you guys, do you work out together? What is her fitness routine like? And kind of give me that, paint that picture for me.
Yeah. So, she's never really been into weightlifting or anything like that. She's more into, she'll go and do cardio a couple of days a week. She loves going on walks. But yeah, I would say it's your normal day-to-day physical fitness. So, I think we had one off season where we worked out together a little bit, but my training was so different than what she wanted to do that it was tough to do. So, we belong to a gym here in town and in a country club that has some pretty nice facilities. So that's her getaway there. And, but we don't do a ton of working out together.
Yeah. My wife and I are the same way. And she also loves red wine, by the way. But, she likes her kind of group fitness classes. She does I don't know if you guys have round 9 or 9 round kickboxing.
Yeah, we just got one actually.
Okay. My wife, that is her thing, man. She finally found her niche, and that is what she thrives on. And I think that she loves it so much because you can show up anytime you want. So there's no set times. There's no fee or penalty. Like Orange Theory Fitness has a fee. If you don't show up, you pay money. This 9 round though, you show up when you want. You can do as many rounds as you want, and then you're out of there. So it's a very convenient thing that fits her lifestyle well. But I love that you mentioned that your wife just does your kind of normal fitness, because normal fitness for some people, doesn't look like that. And a lot of people think that it's got to be, all in hours in the gym to get results.
Right.
And, a couple of my more recent interviews have been people that literally spend 15 or 20 minutes a day, and that's all they dedicate to their fitness. And I think that, the point that I want to get across there is that it doesn't necessarily take all or none to get results. If you're eating clean and you're doing the things you need to do on the nutrition side of things, then you don't have to spend hours in the gym. Now, obviously, if you want to build lean muscle mass, you want to have a ripped physique, you're chasing your dad, that takes more work, obviously. But, for the listeners out there that, are business owners and are just struggling to get something in, I see a lot of people on Facebook for hours and hours at a time when you could go take 10, 15 minutes, get a quick workout in. And if you just establish that consistency, it's going to take you much further than you are on Facebook. Right. So,
right. No doubt.
Yeah. So, I guess my next question for you is with your friends, your network, the people that you surround yourself with, are these people that have goals and visions when it comes to health? Are they aligned with you, or do you feel like after you quit playing ball, you've kind of had to do your own thing?
No. So one of the cool things about the company I'm working for is I've actually been able to recruit back some of my buddies. One that played at Notre Dame with me and then retired from the NFL a couple years ago. And then another buddy of mine from high school who went on to play college football. So these dudes are back. They're in the same position as me, to where they're dads now and they're businessmen, and life has changed and goals have changed. So, getting in the gym, my one buddy has a home gym, which is unbelievable. I wish I could had the space to do that where I'm at now. But yeah, it's like-minded. One of my biggest things is you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And, I take that very seriously. I really do. And some people probably think I'm a jerk because I kind of brush off doing this or doing that. But, I know that, I have a couple people that I spend time with who are years beyond where I'm at. And I got a couple people that maybe I'm the one that's bringing them along. And
sure.
And I take that pretty serious. So, yeah, when it comes to the health and nutrition stuff, I'm surrounded by a good group of dudes.
I love that, man. And, I will tell you one of the most challenging things about my journey when it comes to fitness and business has been to eliminate negativity from my life. One of those things was to stop watching Lions football because it was nothing but negativity. I still check in like we discussed, but it's just hard for me to commit to something that doesn't provide me much joy. But in saying that, one of my most challenging things has been trying to surround myself with people who have, bigger things in mind and their visions align with mine. They want more out of life. They want to live an abundant lifestyle. And that doesn't necessarily mean all finances. That just means they want to be healthy. They want personal development. They want personal growth, and they want more out of life. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is, you stagnate, you surround yourself with the same people. And I've talked about it before, but it's those remember when friends. When you're around those people who are nothing but remember when, and that's all you guys are talking about, that doesn't serve you. So I love that you make it a priority to surround yourself with dudes who want more out of life. And, I think that's so huge. And I see it all the time. It's like you say you want more, but you're still hanging around the same toxic people that you have for the last 10, 15 years, and they're just dragging you down.
Right.
And I love that, the average of the 5 people thing. I'm a huge thing of that too. And when I talk about that, obviously your family are part of those. And so I feel like, my wife's a very intelligent person, and I feel like my son's a very intelligent person. So if those are 2 out of my 5, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. And so
right.
I think that's so important, man. And a lot of people make that mistake, and we only live one time. And the more time that you waste around toxic people, it's just going to drag you down. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes across the board. That's family, friends, everybody. I mean, if you're not challenging me to be a better person, or I don't enjoy my time around you, like I've ended that. Like and I get questioned on it all the time, but I as I'm getting older and my family's growing, like I want my kids to be around these positive influences as well. Because
yes,
and as well as I do that, my daughter, she's a sponge, man. She soaks it all in, and she repeats it all, and she knows the difference between good and bad, and I want to set her up for success.
Yeah, that and you have to, and I think about it like this too. Is like we're put on this planet one time, and I believe that anybody that's capable, I'm not obviously referring to people with mental disabilities or challenges or something like that, but I believe that everybody is capable of doing something great, as long as they put their mind to it. And that means that you've got to take full responsibility of your life, hold yourself accountable. And a lot of that is getting rid of dead weight. And it's been a challenge for me, man, because I have a lot of remember when friends, and I've had to tailor that back and get to a point in my life. And like you said, people think you're a dick or you're a bad guy because you don't want to give them 2 cents or your time of day. But, you got to think about it like this. In 100 years, when you and I are both 6 feet under, is it really going to matter what he or she thought about you? You got to look out for you. And as selfish as that may sound, it's the truth.
Yep.
So that's awesome, man. Well, you've shared a lot of great information with us. I guess my last question for you would be, for my listeners, because you've battled a lot of adversity. You shared your story in the beginning, and I think that, you know, a lot of people will be inspired by that, because it's very easy as humans to beat ourselves up about, you know, one bad day or one bad little thing that happens in our lives. And somebody like you who has battled adversity for several years in a row through your football or for your playing days. Now, obviously that's by choice, but that was your dream. That was your childhood vision. And so, you know, taking blow after blow after blow like that's got to be tough. So I guess my one question for you to kind of help point people in the right direction is, if you could give somebody one piece of advice in terms of if they're struggling or they're having a challenging time getting their health on track and really maybe their life on track, what do you think that would be?
I think the biggest thing is that people have to own that they're 100% in control. I mean, there's so many people, like, you know, the excuse of, well, I don't have time to work out. If you don't have 10 minutes to stop and do 10 minutes of burpees, dude, you're full of it. You're full of crap. Everyone's got 10 minutes. You could do something. So, you know, the excuses, I think the biggest thing is people don't want to own that they control everything in their life. You know, I can look at and I can play the blame game on my NFL career and blame so-and-so that I'm not still playing. But at the end of the day, like, it's on me and I'm done now. But guess what? Life moves on. What's the next challenge? There's always a next thing coming along. And I know that I can control how I attack it every day and how I set myself up for success. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm on to the next thing. And I know that I have control over that.
I love that, man. And it's kind of the saying of, fail forward. You know, we're all going to go through failures in life, and, you know, you have to learn and grow from that and move on. If you're not failing, then you're not trying, right? Like, that's what it comes down to. And so I love that about you, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time today. I think this is going to be a great episode. I think a lot of the people that listen to this show are going to get a lot out of this, especially the dudes, because look, at the end of the day, you know, you have to surround yourself with success. And like you said, you know, take responsibility for your life. That's what it really comes down to. So my last question to you would be, if people want to connect with you or follow you on social or anything like that, where would they find you?
I'm on Instagram at Braxston Cave, BraxstonCave. I also have Twitter, which is the same. I'm not very active on Twitter. I use Instagram for my social media platform. I mostly just read the news.
Got you. Okay. And I'll put all that in the show notes too. Yeah.
Awesome.
So awesome, man. Well, again, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks for taking some time to provide all this value for my listeners, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, brother.
Hey, thanks so much.